In today's video, we're going to go over the 10 fastest chokes that put somebody to sleep according to science. Now, this study was performed in 2020 by a series of doctors. Now, according to the article, the objective of the study was to determine the time to loss of consciousness following full establishment of chokes in trained resistant opponents. So let's understand a few things here. One, both parties are fully trained, so they obviously know what they're doing. Two, the chokes are fully secured and locked in. And three, the opponents are resisting at full throttle, so they're pretty much giving it their all in this case. Now, the article doesn't clearly state whether this was based on MMA type fights or strictly Jiu Jitsu. I think it's just kind of chokes in general that could be used in both. But the second part of the article goes on to state that an internally validated panel of 17 sportive choking experts, so obviously fighters that know how to apply chokes, evaluated 89 choke sequences. Now, out of those 89 choke sequences, again, they're averaging the amount of time it takes once it's fully secured and somebody's fully resisting, how long until that person goes to sleep. And out of those 89, they came down with the top 10 fastest chokes that puts them to sleep. And here they are. Typically, I'll look for this choke off the side that the guy starts grabbing the leg. So if he happened to grab this leg in the process, maybe I had a bad sprawl or whatever, and I'm start driving down and I feel him kind of pressuring into that leg a little bit, right? I don't always want to resist this, but I'll use this as an opportunity to set up the guillotine. So I'm going to take my opposite arm, secure a nice tight chin strap. I'm going to take the other hand, look to get behind the armpit because, again, the arm is completely exposed, so it's a perfect time for an arm and guillotine. And I'm simply just going to lock my hands underneath the chin. Now from here, again, because he's also going to be driving into me, I'm going to bring this leg actually closer to him and lift up with the choking arm at the same time so that I can open up and expose his hips a little bit. I'm going to use that opportunity to now take in my back leg and just drive my shin across his waist. Now, the biggest thing that you have to understand for any guillotine, whether it's arm and a regular guillotine, they're going to look to hop and get over to this other side as fast as possible, right? So I want to make sure that once I've placed this shin across his waist that I immediately take my opposite leg and look to secure over the top as quickly as I possibly can. Now, again, you already have a nice tight grip. I sometimes grab my wrist. Typically, I try and look to grab the back of my palm, but I'm going to secure this grip nice and tight. Again, I got to make sure that I have good pressure down on the head. I'm going to squeeze, and I'm going to look to start kind of rocking the baby, and we can get the arm and guillotine from there. For triangle chokes, I've never been good at like the traditional, stuff the arm to the waist and shoot my hips up. It's just something that I've personally never been able to do, or at least not successfully. So a lot of times I look, especially from guard position, right? I look to break the posture, however you want to break the posture, it doesn't really matter. But I look to secure a nice tight overhook. Now I can do this for both gi, no gi. If we are doing this in the gi, a lot of times I'll take this hand and actually grab the opposite lapel just to kind of make it a little bit more difficult for this guy to start posturing up, right? So from here, a lot of times I actually start fighting this inside bicep hook or wedge, whatever you want to call it. At the same time, I'm going to open up my legs and look to scoop my hips out right away, and we kind of get to that scissored position. Now, again, this fight is going to maintain the entire time. Once I get here, I'm now really going to start kind of posting just as far as I possibly can, and I'm looking to bring my bottom leg out and through. Again, this guy's going to be finding this. They're going to be trying to get this arm back. So usually if I can at least get like a bicep hook here, then it's real easy for me to just slide that off. And I'm looking to just lock my feet on the other side. It doesn't have to be super crazy. Again, this isn't one where I'm looking to lock the triangle right away. I'm simply just looking to get the catch from here. So once I'm able to get this foot over the top, lock your ankles nice and tight. And now from here is where I have to really focus on the posture because this is where they're going to start exploding up, right? So the moment I get my feet locked, my opposite hand usually just looks to cup the head, and now from here I start climbing the body. Now, what helps me is as they start trying to posture and bring it together, that actually allows me to start kind of working towards a higher catch or a high guard per se. So once I get up into this position, now it's just a matter of finishing the triangle, keep the head pressure. My outside leg, I can look to post on the hip, opposite arm can post or can grab the shin as I twisting it a little bit of a better angle, and then I can look to start securing the triangle from here. Now, yes, the question always comes, do you need the arm across the body? Ideally for a triangle, like yes, this is your best ability to finish it. I am still able to finish it here, but because we initially had this overhook, when you get in this position, a lot of times I'm going to keep this tucked and I keep my same side leg pinching behind. So I'm still actually applying a lot of pressure, whereas if the guy was trying to like lock the arm down here, obviously it's going to be tighter or harder for me to get the finish. But because I'm able to keep this arm trapped, I am actually able to secure the arm in this position. So again, I get here, I finish this. If I do need to add a little bit more pressure, then I take that other arm, I look to swim through, grab the inside of the thigh, cut the angle a little bit more, still squeeze, and we can get the finish from there. We have to keep in mind anaconda choke, because people tend to confuse this with the darce one, which we'll see later in this video. But the anaconda is when I'm going from the neck or the shoulder area all the way down to the armpit, whereas the darce is vice versa. We go from the armpit up to the neck shoulder area. So when I'm doing this, again, we're in this front headlock position. I want to take my choking arm, I'm going to shoot all the way across, and I'm looking to cup behind the armpit. Now, I used to always kind of cup on the tricep, but I found that this was actually a pretty weak grip and guys were able to muscle out of this. So what I tend to do is actually cup behind the armpit pretty tight, and then I'll take my other hand, and before I secure this grip, I literally just chop across and then immediately lock behind the armpit here. And this grip is key. So one, this is kind of just a dick move. I'm just gonna smack this across just to get that arm to buckle in, and then I immediately look to secure behind the armpit here. And this grip is gonna be extremely tight, and I wanna maintain this grip so that when I do the roll through, I have good control of the arm, and then all I have to do is slip the choking arm in from here. Now again, during this whole time, we should obviously be off our knees. Now, when I roll through, I have to commit. Some people kind of just fall to their hips, and then they're trying to pull this person over. I wanna literally roll myself underneath like a gator and pull them all the way across the top. So once you do this, and we end up here, again, this should be nice and tight depending on how your hand positioning is. There are some times where you can possibly get a finish, or it's gonna be a good threat for a finish. But I wanna make a nice tight grip so that all I have to do, I don't have to make any adjustments here. I just shoot this arm through, and again, I cup the back of the shoulder here, squeeze, and we can get the tap from there. Now, a lot of times, if you don't get the tap right away, start walking your hips in, not belly down, but literally I'm just trying to take his head and bring his head down to his chest. So as it's staying tight, I just start walking in as we squeeze. We can get the tap from there as well. Or if you got nice long legs, you can also look to reach for the far leg as well. Squeeze everything together, and you're essentially just kind of crunching them into a nice tight ball. And there's your anaconda choke. Now for the north-south choke, one way that I look to hit this right away is when we are playing from side control. And what I'll tend to do, if I find myself looking to fight like a crossbody Kimura or something, if I'm getting just handsy with this, you'll feel the guy starting to kind of sit up and turn into you a little bit, exactly, trying to defend it. And when I feel that head elevate, I now know that there's a big opening here that I can easily slip the choke in. So I'm gonna immediately look to sit back, scoop the head, and immediately look to just kind of shoot my body back. Now, there's a couple key things that we have to understand with the north-south choke. One, I have to have both arms clear. If I get caught with kind of like an arm in between, or like the arm in idea, it's gonna be very difficult for me to finish this choke. So if I do get here, like, it's okay to start here, but then my first goal is to be clear both arms and then secure the grip. Number two, I wanna make sure that his head is turned away from my body. His defense initially is gonna be to try and like dig his chin into me. Now, yeah, it's not gonna be comfortable for him. I can squeeze his face, but I'm not choking him at this point. So what I need to do from here, again, while maintaining this grip, I have to kind of finagle my body to get his head to turn. So I utilize my lats, my shoulders, my body, and you kind of just do this little bit of a driving motion until I can feel that his head is turned the other direction. Now I'm in a position to actually finish a choke. Get a nice tight grip. A lot of times, again, I'll like either secure a gable grip, or I'll look to grab the back of my palm. So again, my choking arm is palm down, my other hand is palm up. Get a nice tight grip. I want to have my head snuggled up against his shoulder. I don't want to be too far up here, because again, I'm creating space by his neck, and I'm putting him in a position where he can start posting on my face to escape. So I want to make sure that I'm nice and tight down by his shoulder. Once I have his head turned, I'm going to be off my hips, and again, I drive my toes into him so that my whole body pressures into his head. Now I squeeze, and we can get the finish from there. And that's your north-south choke. When we're dealing with the choke itself, right, I want to make sure that I start getting hands-on and start hand fighting right away. I don't always look to just slip the choke in. Now, this is ultimately going to be my goal, but I got to deal with his hands first. So a couple things. One, my head should be on the bottom of the choking side. I don't want my head necessarily to be up here, because you can start working his head and his hips and his shoulders out this way to kind of get away from the pressure a little bit. So when I have my head here, I can pressure back into him so that as I'm applying this choke, he's not able to work that side out a little bit. So this is always a key detail, is try and have your head on the bottom as much as possible. My bottom hand is going to be looking to fight the same side hand that I'm getting this hook in. So I usually want to like hook the inside of the elbow or the wrist, and I'm just going to try and drive this same side arm down to my hip as much as possible, knowing that he's going to be fighting it. But again, it keeps it away so that, again, I'm only dealing essentially with one hand trying to defend the choke. Now the other hand for this, as I pressure in, I know he's going to be fighting here, but I'm looking to just slip this in until I can get like a single arm rear naked right away. And the reason that I look for the single arm first is because I can immediately look to start applying pressure. Now, if I lock this in yeah, I can get a one arm finish from here. But a lot of times I can put enough pressure that he's gonna really start panicking. And as he starts doing that, and I can feel like his arms are starting to come up, now I'll actually release this and look to just slip in the second hand from there, and we can get the finish pretty quickly. But I'd like to threaten with this rather than trying to deal with this, because now he's gonna be pulling on all the arms and it's a little bit harder. Exactly, now he's got two arms pulling this down. It's gonna be very difficult for me to get the finish. So I tend to secure the same side, get my head pressure in, look to again, get the single arm behind the shoulder, twist the wrist, pull the elbow back to start applying pressure. Once I really start feeling him struggle, I'll pull his bottom hand out and look to slip in the second hand now as well. Again, keep the head pressure, hip in. If you do have the body lock secured, squeeze the ribs, hip into him, do everything that you need to do, and we can get the rear naked finish choke from there. Let's go back to like this closed guard position. Anytime you get the guys to post their arms, like this is a key moment for you to start hitting up attacks, because I can immediately look to grab the wrist. For instance, I can come over and start looking to rip a Kimura. A lot of times guys will utilize this, they'll open up the guard and they'll start kind of doing a hip bump sweep. But remember, when we're doing this hip bump sweep, if you're not grabbing the wrist and you're posting, it doesn't matter which one you do, but I want to fully commit and hip into the person so that I'm getting this response, right? If I just kind of do a hip bump sweep like here, nothing's gonna happen. So I have to fully commit, start coming up to get that hip bump sweep. Now, if I'm actually trying to utilize the sweep, I'll hook this arm in the process. So I'll come over like I'm doing the Kimura, I'll have like the nice tight grip, and then as I'm coming up, I'm using this pressure to get the person to throw. When I'm looking to set up my guillotine from here, however, I won't grab the arm and I'm just going to do a hip bump sweep, but I keep my arm and elbow posted up here, because once I feel this head posture, knowing that he's gonna start trying to resist this and start drive back in, I feel his head pop up. Once that happens, I immediately look to chop behind the head with the elbow and the tricep as I fall back down. Now the key for this when we are falling is I don't want to just fall straight on my back, because now I'm not really going to have the angle or the pressure to apply the guillotine. So I want to make sure that as I fall, I also shift my hips out off to the side so that I'm falling onto my far hip at the same time. Now again, as the arm chops down, I am then looking to secure, and again for this one I do look to secure the chin strap all at the same time. So again, I come up, I do the hip bump sweep, he posts, he postures ahead, I chop down, I start to hook, fall to that far hip, and now I'm in a good position. I've got a good bite. Again, once as always, look to secure. I can even lock my foot over on the other side if I want to, or at least I'm gonna post on the hip. Pretty much just keep this person from hopping over. Now, two finishes or two different ways to finish this. If I'm utilizing the chin strap, I'm definitely just going to grab the back of my palm and I literally just kind of turn my wrist towards me a little bit. Again, we keep this nice and tight, rotate the wrist towards, and you can get the tap. Otherwise, if you lose the chin strap, I can still utilize the same grip, but we rock the baby, and you can still get the guillotine choke from there. Now, for the headlock choke, you're gonna, or in this case, the Schultz headlock, you're gonna set this up the exact same way as the anaconda choke. So once again, you're hand fighting with this person, I managed to get this grip behind the armpit, I chop in the arm, and I secure a nice tight gable grip behind the armpit so that they can't pull the arm through. Now again, when we do the anaconda, we shoot our head and our body underneath, we roll them on top, we finish it from there. For the Schultz headlock, I'm going to put my head right into their armpit and keep this nice and tight. So it's almost as if I'm getting ready to roll under, but I'm not. Now, before I show you the choke, I get a lot of questions of like, how would this person defend it? Wouldn't they just try and square back up with me? Yes. When I'm here and I start applying the pressure, they're gonna try and turn into me. If I feel that pressure and I feel like I'm losing the headlock, I'm in the position to do the anaconda. A lot of times I'll just roll under and finish the anaconda from there. Or what the Schultz was initially used for in wrestling was people would apply this choke with the pressure to put them to sleep, and once they would start resisting or about to go to sleep, they would just take the position, meaning that as I cut the angle here, I can just grab this near side leg and actually just drive across, and we take the position and forget about the choke. So you do have alternatives if they're defending it. But for the choke itself, I've got a tight grip, my head's in the armpit. Again, I'm off my knees. I'm looking to drive my head into their armpit as I just walk my hips to the outside, and we can get the choke finish from there. When we're doing the darce, as we mentioned, anaconda is from the neck to the armpit. The darce is from the armpit to the neck. So when I'm in this front headlock position, I'm gonna shoot off to the back. At the same time that I do this, I shoot that arm all the way across and I secure the grip nice and tight behind the neck. Now when I'm going to actually get this person to drop down, I want to take my choking arm and pull in as I take my top arm and push away so that I get a little bit of twist in the head. It makes it a little bit difficult for the person to resist it. Now I'm going to drive the head down as I lift up on that shoulder and plop them down on the side. Again, we follow through in front. Immediately look to just shoot this arm up, sink our hips in, and we can get the finish from there. If not, we're struggling with it, I'm gonna drop to that same side hip, Look to pull the legs in just like we do with the anaconda. I'm gonna squeeze, and I'm pretty much just crunching the whole body together, and you can still get the finish, and that's your darts choke. When I set up my arm triangle, obviously you can do this from mount. I actually like to hit this from crossbody. When I have a good side control position, I'm driving the crossface in, I have some form of underhook control. If this guy starts pushing up on my face at any point, or at least just framing on my face, I'm gonna take that underhook arm, push behind the tricep, and just immediately replace that pressure with my head. The idea is that I want to keep this arm up here as much as possible. I don't want him to start driving this arm back down. So I keep this arm up here. I utilize my head and try and go ear to ear just to maintain the pressure. Again, we secure a nice tight grip. From here, I start pressuring my whole body up and into it. I'm gonna come up into mount, but the key when I'm in mount is that I maintain this pressure, because again, if I relax and come back down here, I'm gonna lose that arm. So I want to keep this pressure at all times as I work all the way to the far side of the body. Now from here, I'm gonna maintain ear-to-ear contact. I'm gonna scoot my hips off to the side, drop my hips, but I'm gonna, again, stay active on my toes and drive my body forward. As that happens, I squeeze everything and we can get the finish from there. Now, if he does start dropping the elbow down a little bit from here, I can literally just take my chin, replace it up on the eye, cut the angle a little bit more, squeeze, and we can still get the tap from there. All right, now for the last choke, the bulldog choke, when we're in this turtle position, I've gotten to the back, he's keeping his elbows nice and tight. I can't get any hooks in. This is a good opportunity for you to hit the bulldog choke. So I'm gonna take my opposite hand, look to get a nice, good crossface, strong crossface, ideally try and get underneath the nose. I'm gonna bridge up the nose a little bit. As I do that, I take my choking arm and I'm now going to just shoot it across the neck, lock up a nice tight grip. Then from here, I literally just sit my hips out, drive all my weight and pressure into the back of his head, squeeze, and you get the bulldog choke. So there you have it, the top 10 fastest chokes and puts them to sleep. Let me know which one was your favorite down in the comments, and we'll see you next time.